Welcome at part 4 of the Blender 2.8 Fluid Simulator. In this part we are going to make a cubish fluid, which you can use any object you like. Still, in this part I'm going to keep it simple to make it more easy to understand what we are doing. I got a small display down here which will show you what hotkeys and mouse buttons I'm using. In this case we are going to remove the lamp because we don't need that. And I'm going to select the camera, press numpad 0 to go into the camera. Then I'm going to click my scroll button to go out, zoom out for a bit, and then press Ctrl Alt numpad 0 so the camera will move to a nice distance. And or at the camera tab itself, I'm going to change the end scale to 250 so everything will be clear in the screen. Then I'm going to hold my scroll button to just go out of it. Now I'm going to select our cube. I'm going to press S and type in 5 to scale it up. And from the front view with numpad 1, I'm just going to move this up all the way here. So we have more workspace. Press Shift A and I'm going to spawn in another cube. Then I'm going to scale this with S, then Z, and then I'm going to type in 2. Scale this with S, and this time on the X-axis, and I'm going to type in 10. Then from the side view with numpad 3, I'm going to press S for scale, press Y, and then 10 again. So this is what you should have for now. Also, one thing very important, and that's we need to change our orb, and I will explain you later on why this is so. I'm going to go to front view with numpad 1, going to hit tab to go into edit mode, and I'm just going to move the whole part up with G, Z, and then hold Ctrl to leave it onto the grid, and now our orb is down there. Going to go out of edit mode, spawn in another cube, just gonna press S for scale and type in 10. And then once again, going to edit mode, press G, press Z, and hold Ctrl and move it above the red line so our orb is down there again. Now before continuing, I want to give it some names because we're going to have a lot of cubes and things here in the list. And to keep track of what everything is, giving names is a very good idea. I'm going to press Z and then go to wireframe, and with this big cube being selected, I'm going to call it domain. I'm going to select the smaller cube and call this the big, and I'm going to select this object down here and call this fluid. Now before continuing, we need to change some values, so I'm going to go to this output tab and change the FPS to 60 frames. The next thing that has to be done, we need to give these the fluid simulator options. So we go to the last tab called physics. Then we're going to hit fluid with the fluid being selected and give it the option fluid. I'm going to select the big cube, hit fluid, and then select domain. I'm going to select the smaller cube, hit fluid, and then hit obstacle. Now of course we need to give this obstacle an animation, so I'm going to go into front view with numpad 1. Then I'm going to press I and hit location. It's going to make the timeline a bit larger, and I would like to hit the floor at frame number 100, so the first time it will go a little bit slower. So with the other mouse button you can move on the timeline, put it on 100, then with the cube being selected, hit G, hit Z, then hold your Ctrl and just move it onto the red line, then hit I and hit location. Now if we move on our timeline, you can see it now move from up to down. I'm going to put the end from 250 to 500, and then with the cube being selected, I'm going to search for frame 150, hit I again because I don't want it to move while it's onto the floor. And on the timeline, I'm going to use the scroll to zoom out for a bit, and I'm going to hit shift and hold scroll so I can just move to the left and the right. Going to search for frame 200, that will be here, and I'm going to move it up again all the way to the top, that will be right down here. So when the water will hit back, it will have a nice bounce up again in the middle. And I'm going to hit I and hit location. So if we will move from frame 1, this is what we will have. It will hit the floor, stay there for a while, and then shoots back up. Just going to close the timeline for a bit And now all we have to do is just put this onto 100 resolution, and I'm also going to put for my side the preview on 100 so you can see what's going on. Then it's a nice time to just save it up already, so go ahead and save it. And now I have saved it, I can just safely press on bake, and if Blender would close itself by any reason or meaning, then I can just pick the save file and just do it again. Now just stop there for a second. Before you hit baking, make sure you increase the speed from 1 to 3. Meanwhile it's baking, I'm going to press Z and go to solid mode, and now I'm going to click scene collection and make a new collection, and I'm going to rename this to hide. Because some of the things we're going to hide, and it's very handy to put everything what we hide into a separated list. In this case, we will select the fluid box and it will show over here that it's the fluid box. I'm going to put that on hide, just close it and close it because we don't need that anymore. Then I'm going to select the domain. Then we are going to go to the modifier tab, just close this fluid, then open up the list and we're going to add a remesh. Then change the sharp to blocks, which I showed you a few tutorials ago. And in this case, we just have to wait for a little bit, but I can already show you when the cube hits the water will react onto it. So in this case, one thing we could already do is just unselect everything with Alt A and then hit Shift A and spawn in another cube. And then from the front view, we're just going to move it up here. I said up here, thank you. And one thing you should also not mistake when you actually spawn in something new is make sure you select the collection box. So in this case our cube is now in the wrong collection. So you can just grab it and move it up. And or I'm going to call this cube D small. Now that is done baking with the right speed of 3. I will just explain you quick what speed 3 and speed 1 actually does. Speed 1 actually makes sure that the water will actually go higher. You will get holes at the side and it will be a lot more heavier. Plus I don't like it. It's just way too much. That's why I have set it on 3. You can experiment with this. Maybe 2 would be nice or 2.5 would be nice. That is just up to you. Now let's go to the modifier tab and have a little talk about the Octree depth. If I pronounce it the right way. I'm just going to just put it down here. So now you can see not much happened. Then just one block has disappeared. But if I increase this, you will get more details. Now I do have to warn you, and this is kind of logic. The higher you set this, the heavier it will be. For my end result, I did use a number of 7. But meanwhile, I was messing around. I just used a 5 or 6 even, I think. That will be good for now. And let me just explain you about remove disconnect pieces. When it's selected, what it says, it will remove all the pieces that normally would disconnect, like small drops and that kind of things. And when you turn it on, you can sometimes clearly see, maybe not here, but when you see these pieces down here. I did make a clip with this being turned on, so you see all these pieces flying. But I found it sometimes a little bit too glitchy. Then there was nothing in the air, and then all of a sudden, just for 2 seconds, a block appeared in the air and then disappeared. And that just didn't felt right. It didn't felt good. Of course, it's more naturally, but we don't have blocky fluids in real life anyway, so I'll just leave this off for now, and it really looks a lot better. So the next thing we are going to do is make sure that we connect this block here to these blocks down here. So when we mess around with the shape of it, or we make textures on it, it will look like separate little objects instead of this one object. So how we are going to do that? Well, we need to parent it. So this is the child and this is the mother. We want to connect the child with the mother, so the child will always stay with the mother. So we do that by just selecting this cube and then hold your shift and select the mother as a second. Then you hit Ctrl P and just set parent to object. So now the child does everything what the mother does. But in order to let the mother show what the child needs to do, we also need to bring a connection to the child. We can do that by just selecting the mother, then go to the object tab itself, and then you have to open instancing. Then you have all kinds of options. I'm just going to say you need to select the vertices, and straight away you see something happen. Now, for example, since we only need to use the child, we can just hide the mother simply by just clicking this display instancer. If you turn this off, the mother will be around the corner. But for now, I'm just leaving it on for 2 seconds. Now the next thing we're going to do, and this is actually why I want this orb to be down here and not somewhere up in the air, because the child will be at the point where the orb is at the mother. So if I had the orb somewhere in the air and for example, I didn't have this cube and I would play the simulation, you would see this one cube hanging out in the air. The point is with this, I have not figured out just yet how to hide. Because when I select this child, which is D small, and I would hide it, you can see it's actually gone. But when there are textures on this, it won't be shown on the whole mesh. Now, I'm just going to press G and move this up here. It won't be shown on our work. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but I can just show it to you when we gave this color. The next thing we are going to do, as you can see, it's all messy and screwed up. That's because we need to rescale this. But the point is, we need to rescale this a few times. It will make more sense later on, but one thing I can already tell you, if for example, we would press S with this small dice being selected, and we just smaller it, you can see everything smaller. And now you just have to get this small enough so it won't hit each other. And now the point here is we see our mother, being through the work. So that's why you want to turn the mother off. And then we can select our child and then go to the front view with numpad 1, of course. Just zoom in for a bit and then just hit that scale button and just scale it out until it barely hits each other. It's okay to have a tiny little gap between it, because when you watch it from this side, you won't see it for too much. And also in this case, I'm just going to select the camera. Then I'm just going to hit the scroll button to go out of it. Then I'm just holding shift and move it just a little bit up so it's more into the middle. Hit Ctrl Alt numpad 1. So I know for sure it's kinda is in the middle. I can also press G and Z. Put it more in the middle. Then I hit the scroll button again and just scroll out. Hit Ctrl Alt numpad 0. Just do it one more time. So now it's just perfectly in the screen. Now you could say this is actually perfect. But there is a but. If, and this is why I had a problem with finishing off my tutorial. Because if I zoom in and it's very visible when you make your animation, is you just look over here, and when I move this onto the timeline, you can see that these cubes are moving up and down and more up and down. And this is not very nice to look at. It looks very not okay, like it's unfinished. There is one thing we could do to not make this fluid simulator go all the way jiggling up and down. And I found a tutorial of Ray Merlat. There is a link of his channel in the description. It's worth to visit his channel. Just check out some stuff. He actually made a same kind of thing, but with Lego. Even though it's almost 4 years old and he doesn't upload anything, it's very worth to just check out this channel. These credits go to him for fixing the last part of my tutorial. But basically what he explained is we just need to, first of all, let's click our small dice and move it once to the middle. Very good. So basically what he explained to do is spawn in a cube. Then go into edit mode, and I'm just going to zoom out for a bit. Then place this block over here, and I will just explain you in a second what we do. Place one block here. You want to make sure it's, since we use a value of 10 for our fluid simulator, you want to make sure it's chew off the line here, and chew off the line here. So you know for sure the whole fluid simulator is inside of what we are making right now. I'm just going to duplicate this, press Z, hold Ctrl and do the same down below. make sure it's true off. Select everything, go to, I should never turn off the transparency, very good. So reselect everything, make sure it's inside the cube, and then go to the side view, select everything, and actually do the same over here. Place it down there, press G, press Y, hold Ctrl and move this down there. So now I know for sure the whole fluid simulator is actually within this imaginary box that we just made. The point is, let's just see this as a car. This fluid what we made here is a car, and the fluid flowing are our wheels. Our wheels are flowing and doing the stuff, but the whole car is moving with it, and this is something we don't want. You can basically see it as a car that's on a testing bench to see what the speed is, how much RPM the engine has, if I'm not wrong. And you know, the car is just stuck and the wheels are rolling. And this is basically what we do over here. We want our car to be stuck, only our wheels to be moving. This is actually very, very simple. We're going to select our domain, that's our fluid. We go to the modifier tab. And now we're going to add in a boolean. This was actually surprising for me that this works. So what we do here is first we're going to select this thing down here. So then we select our cube. So now this is related to our cube. And then we need to set this to union. And now make sure that the boolean is above our remesh. And straight away you see that our cubes have been resized. This is what I was saying before. We need to keep resizing stuff until you're happy. With this boolean though, you only have to do this once. Now if you would change the remesh to like smaller blocks, like for example say 7, then you need to remesh it, resize it again. If I would just take the small cube, go to the front view, just scale it for this moment, just like so, that's okay. So now if I would start moving the timeline, you can actually see that our fluid simulator is not moving anymore. It just stays at his place, while the fluid simulator itself is just doing his job. But this is very, very, very nice for an end result of your work. Of course, I need to adjust this again. I'm going to select the cube and put it one down because it was going through the middle cube. Making tutorials is not always easy. But in this case, we have everything kinda done. Now, we can just select this cube and just call it, I'm just gonna call this holder because it's hold our fluid simulator, and you can just put it in the hide tab and just hide it. So now the next thing we're going to do is actually very, very simple. Just going to select our big cube. It already has the default material. Going to open this tab just to make sure I can see what's happening. I'm just choosing a greenish color. Going to select the small dice. And now I'm going to show you why you cannot turn this off. Copy the same material on the bluish. I'm going to go into the EV render. Let's spawn in a sun. Go to the side view. I'm just going to place this down here. Then rotate X. Hold my control. Then place it down here. And no, I should actually leave it between here and the middle of that. Down here would be good because if you go too far, you can actually see that the shadow is leaving. Now it will be fine right down here. Going to press R, going to press Z, hold my control, move this something like so. This would be very nice. So now, if I would press F12, you can actually see that everything is as it's supposed to be. If I would hide our small cube into the preview and into the render because it's hanging in the air and I don't want it to be seen, press F12 again. You can actually see that the color has disappeared. So you always want to make sure that the orb of the whole fluid simulator is at the bottom. So the cube will be at the bottom too and won't be shown in our scene. I hope it makes a little bit of a sense. Now before I'm going to talk about the EV samples, We first want to make a black background. This is something I will just do for the last time in my tutorials. For the next time I won't show it, but I will have a quick tip video where I quick show you for a black background and or what else you can do with it. So for now, copy a new scene, then Shift A, spawn in a camera, go to the world settings, click on new, make this all the way to the black. Go back to the normal scene, then we need to go to the render tab, click on film and make sure that this scene's background is transparent, then scale the timeline up, go to the compositing, then turn on use nodes for the world render settings, one of them, it's the render settings. So now you can see that this is what we rendered before. When I select this, hold Shift D and oh boy, just place it down there. Then just zoom in for you guys so that you can see what's happening. I'm going to select for this one scene 001, which is the black one. Then we need to mix these two together with a mixer. I'm just going to select on the line, but this one should actually be in the bottom. But don't worry, when you grab a new string from the top, you place this into the top. The other one will go automatically to the bottom. That's very nice. And all that has left to be done is turn off use alpha. And when I press F12, there you go. We got our scene with the black background. We have the colors. If you would have made a dices, you would see the dices. And that's all that we have to do. Now about the Eevee samples. The point is, if you are very used to always use cycles, then the Eevee samples is something that you have to discover. Which in case I mean the first time I thought I need to crank it up to 100 or 200, but it doesn't make any sense. The point is, if I would put the render samples to 1, press F12 to see what's going on, it still looks the same. The only thing that really has changed is the anti-analyzing is very, yeah, you can see what's going on, right? So the point is, if I would put this on 20 for the end result, press F12 again, it looks actually good. I don't need to put it higher than 20, except if you want to use reflection. Now the point is, the reason why I haven't used any reflection onto this is that the reflection is a tutorial of itself. In cycles, if you turn on the reflection, it looks good straight ahead. But in Eevee, it works totally different. Just gonna show you one thing, and that you need to use light probes. And here you have reflection, cube map, and you need to put down all kinds of settings. So to keep this tutorial short, I didn't include that because I just want to show you guys how you can make cube fluids, how you can make an object into the fluid, how to make it look smooth, how you can stop this from, you know, going up and down, how to add in the black background and that kind of stuff. So I think that is enough for now. Now this was a lot of stuff. So if you have some questions, then you can also go to my Discord or just place it below this video. The next part 5 will be the last one about the fluid simulator for now. I might come back some days with something totally new. After part 5 we would just go on to other simulators, which in case I'm talking about the smoke simulator or fire or wind or dynamic stuff, clothing, rigid body, and or of course the particle system is also a simulator, but it has its own tab because it's very large. So once again, if you've got some questions or a request, then comment below. If you found this video useful, then give it a like and subscribe for more content if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.